A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. Sorry it's so late, but it isn't going to be a stale show if there aren't going to be a few difficulties along the way. And the Wi-Fi, the broadband just completely went down for about 2 hours today while I was preparing the show. And I kept having to delay the show until a bit later and a bit later and a bit later. But I'm here. And I'll try and make it a quick one because I know it's the end of a long weekend. I know you've all had a lot of fun and you're all back to work tomorrow. Maybe some of you have been already back at work or working throughout the whole weekend. But whatever, I hope you all had a good time, a good weekend. And how much better could it have gotten, eh? Do you remember last week when I talked about what this week what the last 7 days might be like? You know, the week before last, we ended a weekend with a win at Chelsea, and then we signed Mavropanos, and then we signed Kudus, and then we went out and beat Brighton away. For the first time in something like 12, 13 attempts or something like that in the Premier League, we finally broken our duck against them. So why don't we start there? Actually, no, let's not start there because I've got only 123 comments to sift through. So let's go into that and say hello to everybody. Wish you all a good evening. Let's go right up to the top. Good evening, Ed. Thumbs up to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well. Starting later tonight. I had trouble getting... No, the cats have been fine. The effing Wi-Fi hasn't been. Anthony, 41 was never a legend. No, just a passing phase in our history. Good evening, Daniela. Look, can we stop the rice knocking? We starting to sound like immature school kids. We had a lot of great times with him, but we can. He's moved, chose. We didn't want to turn against him. I get that. I mean, he did bring us a lot of good times, but I did put a little message out on Facebook earlier today saying, do you think we're better off without him? And I didn't mean it facetiously. I just meant, do you really think we're better off without him? And I just think we are. Our transfer window has been phenomenal. Mind you, we've said that before, haven't we? Do you remember the Pellegrini era? The first year he was here, and we said the transfer window was phenomenal, and then that turned a bit sour in the second season. And then do you remember last summer when we went, the transfer window's phenomenal? Look at all the players we're signing, and we had a really shit season. I'm going to say that this summer our transfer window has been phenomenal. I think it's been pretty good. The kind of players that we've signed, there's a lot of players that we didn't want, weren't sure about, the James Ward-Prowse and all that sort of stuff. But look what's happened. James Ward-Prowse has already paid back his 30 million, 2 assists and a goal already in the 2 games that he's played. I mean, no, he hasn't, but, he's well on his way to. And that was absolutely superb. Great performance and a great signing. Alvarez, I'm going to talk about him in a minute. Yeah, well, a little bit about him. I'm going to talk about the game against Brighton. That's been superb as well. We've been spending really well. Is that the Steidten effect? Is that Mark Noble? Is that David Moyes? Who cares? They're working as a unit. They're working as a team by the looks of it. And finally, and I'm glad that they are, because finally we now have a team that we could be proud. Like, well, we've always been proud of the team, but we could have a team that we've got a team that we're kind of thinking, wow, we could possibly go places here. We could possibly do something with this team, solidify this team. Younger players coming in, Kudus, 23 years of age. Mavropanos is 25 years of age. Who else? Help me out. All the players that we're bringing in have been a decent sort of age group. I think the oldest one that we're bringing in is actually James Ward-Prowse at 28 years of age. So we've done pretty well. So we have moved on from Declan Rice, and I'm really pleased that we have. Hammers Mikey, good evening to you. Why so many players though? Why so many MF players though? Moyes is going to have them playing all over. Midfield players all over. Whilst well, we've got different types of midfield players that have come in. Ward-Prowse, a bit of a playmaker. Alvarez, a defensive midfielder. Kudus coming in, is attacking midfielder, can also play up front. He's got a bit of variety there, so I think that's pretty good. Good evening to you, Debbie and Mark. How are you? I see a problem with how Moyes uses Kudus. Bowen is almost too good to be dropped for right wing, and I doubt he drops Antonio for Kudus. No way he plays Kudus as central attacking midfielder. I think I said this last week, and I've been saying this for quite some time since we've been linked with Kudus. I think he's going to be the alternative for Antonio. I'm not saying he'll replace Antonio. I think he'll be the alternative, and I think what it will do, it will give Moyes that opportunity on the right side of midfield to be able to mix it. If he wants to bring Kudus on, for Bowen goes up front, or the other way round. Keep Bowen on the right, put Kudus up front, replace Antonio for Kudus, throughout a game, etc. And there's a lot of games coming up as well. Let's not forget, we've got European football coming up at the end of September, tail end of September. We're going to need a squad. We're going to need different players. David Moyes, if you remember, the last couple of seasons in Europe has kind of tried to have two teams, one in Europe, one in the Premier League. He'll mix it up. I think he found that out last season. The season before last in the Europa League, I think he tried to keep the same players in the Premier League and different players in the Europa League. Whereas last season, he kind of mixed it up a bit, maybe because of injuries, or whether he had to, etc. And he'll probably do that for Europa League and the Premier League. Kudus will get game time. Kudus will play out on the right. Kudus will probably play central attack in midfield, and Kudus will probably play up front as well. So I can see he's got choices, which is a good thing. And he's also got players I think he wants, that he's going to trust to play in the kind of game plan that he wants to play. Graham, good evening to you. So far for me, it's effective, but now entertaining, but who knows what the future, not entertaining, who knows what the future will hold. Good evening to you, Ballon. For sale, one Moyes out banner only used by once at Fulham by a fair weather Moyes out supporter. Will only sell to a serious Moyes out fanatic. Sensible offers considered. Graham, someone in Brazil has a cheeky fiver on Stel being on time. They fucked that one up, didn't they? Good evening to you, Ed. I hope you're well, mate. Who else we got? Debbie and Mark. David Moyes and Big Sam trying to co-manage West Ham for a season. Now that's entertainment for fans. Flemmer, good evening to you. I placed a £10 bet for Stel to be 9.15, not 10.05. There you go. You wasted your money there. James, good evening to you. Do we think Lingard will sign? Yes, I do, and I'll explain why later. What I'm going to do, because I am so late, and I know you're all going to be like, goodness me, it's going to get to midnight before he finishes. I will go through the show pretty quickly so we can have conversations a bit about things like Lingard, etc. When I do the transfer section at the end of the show, I will go through that, I promise you. But I will go through, I won't go into detail about, the game and about transfers and all that sort of stuff, but I'll touch on all of them. Good evening to you, Shaky. How are you? I'll take 3 points over an entertaining loss all day. See, this is the big question mark at the moment. I think there are a couple of question marks, aren't there? When I talk about the Brighton game, I'll look at those and the game plan, whether we can keep this up for a whole season, etc., etc. Ballon. More than one way to win. The West Ham way didn't get us 3 years of European football like we have now. You see, that there is a method to the madness, isn't there? Let's scroll down and say hello to people. Mr. McCarthy, thanks for all the messages. You probably brought my Wi-Fi down, didn't you? Right, where is he? Didn't call me a liar, but almost. I didn't. Bill, good evening to you. Understanding the 3 points and loss scenario, but we need some entertainment. We do. It costs a lot of money to support our club. Absolutely. Absolutely, we do. I mean, there's no denying. I think, I like to think that Moyes has got different game plans in his head. Do you remember we always used to call him one-dimensional, and only play a certain style of football? I think he's got a different approach coming up. We've got Luton coming up on Friday. I fully don't expect, I could be wrong, I fully don't expect us to play a 22% percentage game of holding on to the ball as we did the last couple of games against the likes of Chelsea and Brighton, etc. I think he will take it to other teams a little bit more. Oh, I'm hoping so. Flemmer, I'm excited about the business we've done this summer, but thinking we got Moyes in charge, my excitement drops down by 50%. Well, it is that big argument, isn't it? What do we want? Do we want success or do we want to play pretty football and lose games? You can play pretty football and win games, of course. Ballon, good defending is entertaining as well. I love watching our team fight like lions. You see, the Italians, I just wonder why David Moyes has never managed in Italy. He would be an absolute phenomenon over there because they love. I've got friends, from years back, when I used to go to Sardinia a lot, Italian fans and all that. And they used to like muse over, defensive football. They used to love it. They used to sit down and talk and analysis about, this player, the defensive strategy of this manager, etc. They absolutely love it. They got flair players as well. Let's not deny it. But defending was an art over there. And I just don't understand. David Moyes could have made a killing going and managing over in Italy. He would have loved it. James, shows what we can do if we can keep Scotty Chops away from the signings. Well, I think he's had one or two says in the signings. Apparently, he's got last say. Doesn't matter who finds them, whether it's Steidten, whether it's Noble, whether it's Newman, whoever it is. Moyes has got the final say on the signings. Evening to you, Eddie. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Let's scroll down a bit. Evening to you, usual. I hope you're well. To all the degenerates. John, over 24 hours ago, I told Stel Steidten was heading to Brazil. He doubted me. Now look at the thumbnail. Oh, come on. I know. But I had to check. Hammers Mikey, still want Moyes out. Under 25% possession again. We will get sussed out again soon with these boring, predictable tactics. So don't want to get too overexcited. Watch this space. Areola won us that game. He was phenomenal. Adam, all right, Stel, what a win at the weekend. There was one. I was there, but second best. I watched it live. So cool. Fantastic, mate. Shame I didn't see you. If ever you see me in the crowd, just come over and say hello. Manji, how are you, mates? Good evening to one and all. I reckon we should try and be like the Italians. Treat every block clear. There you go. Treat every block clearance and tackle like a goal. Will be rawly on tape. You see, they love it. The Italians absolutely adore defensive style football. They absolutely lap it all up. Evening to you, Paul. I hope you're well. What have I not got plugged in? I've got everything plugged. Good. Evening, super Areola and fantastic goals. He was superb, Areola. I'm so glad he's got his number one spot. I really, really am. David, good evening to you, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Howard. How are you? I hope you're well. Kent, how are you? Brilliant away day on Saturday. It was indeed. Apart from getting, mind you, I took the coach. I took the company coach. I took the club coach, and I'll tell you what, it was a pretty easy ride. Very, very comfortable. It took me an hour to get to the coach station, the pickup point at Pudding Mill Lane, but it was well worth it. At least I got there and back without all the trouble with the trains. One of the best for a long time. I think it's because we broke our duck against Brighton. Decisive counter-attacking football with a purpose that knocked out Brighton. It was brilliant. It really was. I'm here, John. I'm here. What time did you message that? Oh God, yeah. Okay, I've got you. Who else have got? Let's scroll down because you're taking the piss out of me for being really, really late. Shaky. Sharky. There was a shaky earlier, wasn't there? Very good evening to Stel and everyone in the chat. We will watch the show tomorrow as I've got to go. Oh, what a shame. Great win at Brighton. Things are looking positive at West Ham. They are. We were top of the league. For a little while. Good evening, Mr. Peters. I hope you're well. What a great day away that was on Saturday. We looked quick on the break, and Kudus, not Kudos, will be an exciting player for us. Hopefully he'll get some minutes at Luton. I hope so too. He's been signed in time. No excuses. He's got a whole week to get, mind you, he's been playing regular football, so it's not as if he has to get fit or anything like that. Apache, Stel spotted taking the recycling out. Today. Miss Smith, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Entertaining attacking football that's not successful. Let's have a custard cream and ruminate on the Zen. Good evening, Black Country. I hope you're well. Eddie, I'm excited for Friday since Souček can't play because of his concussion. Look. Let's give credit where credit, because I'm going to give massive credit to Antonio in a minute. Let's give credit where credit's due. Souček has been decent this season. All right. Against Chelsea, he gave a penalty away, gave the ball away a few times, but he made up for it. And but otherwise, he's been all right. He's like being all right. But anyway, sad to say that's got me excited. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see. Agerd will be back, of course. And I guess I would expect Oggy will probably drop out for Agerd being back. But it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to play in place of Souček. I would imagine Benny, because Benny came on. He had a point to prove, and boy, did he prove it really, really well. I'm not that short. I'm short, but I'm not that short. Usual suspect. Let's hope that it's not 25% possession against the Giants of Premiership Luton on Friday night. I think it'll be different. Good evening to you, David. I hope you. Here we go. I hope you're well. Who else we got? Kalispera to you, Keith. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Ralph. How are you, Mr. Barrett? How are you? What a start to the season. I must be dreaming. Look, don't dream, because it can happen. It has happened. It is happening. There's no reason why, I know the possession-based football isn't great. I know. But look, it's what you do with the ball, isn't it? What did Moyes say in the post-match interview about possession? He said, oh, well, they can keep the ball. I'll have 3 points. They can take the ball home, I think he said. Well, he's got a sense of humour, hasn't he, that Scott? My word. Mr. McLaren, how are you? Drinking his Horlick? I'm not, but certainly not drinking alcohol either. Who we got? Spooky Duke. I think that's a new name. But welcome. If only 3 points from Bournemouth deserved it, absolutely. The Real Star Ben, that's another new name. Come on, you irons. Good evening to you. By the way, if you're new to the channel, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on, if you enjoy what you watch and hear. Ian, good evening to you. Evening, mate. Thank you for joining. Mr. Tiley, to Black Country. Stell's happy. I bet Betty is too. Who's Betty? I'm very happy. I'm always happy. Good evening, James. How are you? Yet again, the Moyes Irish shone upon his loyal European champion disciples. Good evening, Peter. How are you? Alberto deal will end up with a 50% sell-on clause inserted in his contract. I'm not even sure it's going to happen. I've been trying to catch up with on it this evening. I kind of don't really know what's going on, but I'll tell you what I do know. Good evening, Robert Jack. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Percy. How are you? It's a great time to be a West Ham fan. It's always a great time to be a West Ham fan, even when it's shit. But no, you're absolutely right. It is. Mark, good evening, mate. Glad you enjoyed. I did. I enjoyed the journey up there, joined the journey back, met people I knew on there, Paul Burgoyne, and who else did I meet? Steph, Edgware Hammers was there, and a few other people. And of course, Tom, who sat next to me. And he was talking to me, and then right at the end he went, "Oh, watch your shows." I went, "Oh, thank you very much." So thank you all for keeping me company. Thank you all for chatting to me on the way up there. It was lovely. Peter, Alberto, and the guy that was in the beer queue when he turned around to me and went, "Oh, number 14. He's going to be number 14, Kudus." Send me a message, mate. I want to know where you got that information from before anyone else. Peter, Alberto is currently dual owned. Yeah, this is it. So need to make sure it's not another cock up. That's the bit that I was trying to get my head round. Steve, still, you're right about Kudus? Oh, no, yeah, I know. Can be right sometimes. Good evening to you, Hammer Time. Let's be honest, we only played 3 games. I know. But what is it? We're 33 points to safety now. There you go. Put it that way. Can't be bad, can it? Good evening, Clive. Good to see you on Saturday as well, mate. I hope you're well. Martin, are we better without Rice? Well, that's the question I asked in Facebook chat earlier today. I just think we are. No disrespect to Declan Rice. I don't mean it in a horrible way, but I think we are. How many times have I said to you, probably last season, and certainly after this last season that ended, I said, what we really need is a defensive midfielder to solidify that midfield. Someone that's going to sit there in front of the back 4 and protect them. Alvarez. Because with the greatest of respect to Declan Rice, and this is an interesting conversation I had on the coach on the way there or back, can't remember. But the interesting conversation I had with people around me was, that people were saying that Declan Rice wanted everything to go through him last season, and he wanted to be the star man. And fair enough, he was our best player, one of our best players. And because of that, he also didn't want to sit back. And that sort of disrupted our whole midfield. We've now got Alvarez, who's just going to sit there and just, soak up all the pressure in midfield and allow all the other players ahead of him to do what they have to do. The Bowens and, whoever else we're going to have, Paquetá and all that sort of stuff. They're just going to maraud forward because they know they've got that protection. They've got that security blanket of Alvarez. That makes a huge difference. So in answer to that, yes, I think we're better without Rice because we've got more structure to our team. And I think that's a really, really good thing. Ham time. I'll judge new players in about 10 to 15 games time. Fair play. That's a good shout, actually, because they might look good, enthusiastic, etc. I mean, look at Alvarez. He was dead on his feet at the end of before he got substituted on Saturday. He just did an excellent job. James Ward-Prowse, look, come on. I mean, he's hit the ground running, hasn't he? But we've got to wait and see what Kudus is like. We've got to wait and see what Mavropanos is like when he gets his opportunity as well, and hope that they can hit the ground running as well. Vinay, good evening to you. Moyes might be feeling liberated with Steidten taking care of recruitment. That's a good point. That is quite possible, and maybe all that stuff that we were hearing at the beginning of the summer, at the beginning of the transfer window. Oh, it's they're at loggerheads, they're fighting each other and all that. I wonder how much of that was really true. and how much of that was actually just a little bit of, noise without there being any substance to it. We never know, will we? Because Moyes is never going to admit it. Steiden's not going to come out and tell us if it was bad or not. Good evening, Hammerette. I hope you're well. It's great to be a Hammer this season, isn't it? So glad now that Rice has left. It's great to be a Hammer every season, even when we absolutely play real shit football. Steve, Black Country has defo pumped up Betty this way. Oh, now I remember who Betty is. Christoph, good evening to you, mate. Like a lot of people, I've got the jitters at the start of the window, but it's a carbon copy. It's great. It's a good window at the moment. I don't think we've done badly. One thing that we had to do was spend the Declan Rice money well, and we've done just that. We've got a variety of different players in, and the Skamaka money came as well, and the Vlasic money and so on, and that money that we spent, 130 odd million so far, I don't know what we've got left. I think we've got 15, 16 million left, give or take, something like that. So we've done pretty well with the money that we spent so far. Philip, good evening to you. Yes, agreed. We are better off with Rice money. With the Rice money, that's what's really has made the club the difference now. And of course, virtually the right man who's been spending it. At least a club that is really on the up. At last, a club that's really on the up. It really is. I'm happy. I'm delighted. And the window hasn't finished yet. Look how comfortable and do you remember when the window opened and we were like, "What? Come on, spend that bloody money! What are you doing?" Everyone was going, "Oh yeah, Sullivan's going to pocket it and run off into the, with his bird and all that sort of stuff." I shouldn't, not allowed to say bird, am I? And now look, now we're sort of we're sitting comfortable. We've made 4 really, really decent signings, and we've got another 1 or 2 to come, and maybe another freebie as well on top of that. Kudus can play pretty much anywhere along the front line, absolutely. Vinay, that second goal was in the way he controlled it. We were just behind the goal watching it, and the way, Benny's cross. Someone said if that had been Man City, or if that had been Liverpool, or if that had been Chelsea or Arsenal, whatever, everyone will be waxing lyrical about it. Oh my God, look at that pass, look at that control, look at that, a dink into the corner, etc. West Ham, it's been like, yeah, he crossed it, he scored it, but the technique was absolutely superb. First of all, it started with, and I'm talking into the about the game, aren't I now? But Antonio, the way he won the ball back deep into our own half, the way he got it to Benny just waited and waited. He saw the run, didn't he? And you've seen the thing about on Sky where apparently they found a note. I don't know if it really said that to Bowen, where apparently Moyes wrote a note to Bowen saying, "Get up there, son. We're going to cross the ball to you, and you're going to put it in the net." I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know what that note said, but that's what Bowen said. And he did just that. But the way he controlled it, one touch and then a dink, it was absolutely, absolutely superb. John, thank you. I really did get some cat food. Sod the bloody cats. They eat enough food as it is, the little things. Christoph, like a lot of people, I got that one already, mate. Thank you for that. Usual. I know it's only 3 games, but isn't it lovely looking at the Premier League table? It absolutely is. Mandy, good evening to you. Hi. Is Ev there? I didn't see him. Hi to you. I'm not over impressed with the Brazilian striker link. No, I'm confused by it, to be quite honest with you. But there's two striker links from Brazil. I'm a little bit confused. I'm going to look into them a bit more this week because I haven't had a lot of time to do so today. But I'm confused rather than not impressed. I think there's probably better out there, but there must be a good reason why they're out there. Miss Smith, where are those pesky Moyes? Is a clown. Don't want to say that word. Supporters. Yeah. People are still going on about Moyes, especially because of the possession. Andrew, rumour Liverpool are looking seriously at Bowen. If Salah goes to Saudi, they can sing. Look at Bowen. Look at what the way he did his interview after the game. He talked passionately about West Ham United, not just about scoring the goal he scored, but about the play and he talks so passionately about West Ham. He believes in the project. He believes in whatever this Moyes project is. If it's only going to be counter-attacking for the whole season, Bowen is bought into it. Bowen will be the sort of player that will score goals in that system. He'll run all day. He will run all day. He'll get back and defend if he has to, and he'll run all day as well to do, to get on the end of those balls. And he loves it. There's absolutely no way at all that West Ham United are going to sell Jarrod Bowen to Liverpool in this summer transfer window, or possibly any other one. He's about to get a new deal. He's about to get, people are talking about him getting double his money. I don't know what he's on, 70 grand a week maybe. So he'll probably become one of the highest earners at the club. There is no way Jarrod Bowen is leaving West Ham. So Liverpool can sing, they can put whatever money they want in front of us. He won't be the next player to leave West Ham. Mark my words. It'll probably be Paquetá next summer. That we know that. We kind of know that. Other players, I don't know. Bowen at this moment in time will get an extension, a contract extension. Liverpool can go and sing. Juha, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Billy Bob. I hope you're well. I've gently caressed the like button. Thank you very much. People, hit the bloody like button as hard as you can. Don't smash your computers or your phones or anything. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, please. Liverpool would have to offer 100 million and some for Jarrod Bowen. They can sod off. Galispero to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Thank you. Much appreciated, mate. I forget to send you that check in the post for all the promoting that you do for me. Mandy, yes, it was Daniela by the control from Bowen at full speed. It was absolutely world class. Jarrod Bowen will get back in the England team the way he's going to play for West Ham this season. Mark my words. You heard it here first. Spooky Duke, Bournemouth was the weakest game with hindsight still. It was a shame, really, because we had that game won. There was no reason for us not to have won that game. We took our foot off the pedal as soon as we scored, which was a real shame. But boy, oh boy, when we scored against Brighton, we defended and defended and defended. Fuck me, did we smash them on the break 3 times. It was superb. Eddie, in my opinion, we're only looking at Yuri Alberto because he has European experience and not because he is the best available striker in the Campeonato Brasileiro. I don't understand. I'm not sure. There are better players out there, and there's also talk about going out there and getting a striker on loan. And I'm not sure why we're looking at Yuri. Yes, I know he's got Zenit St. Petersburg, who kind of part own him. He's back he went there, now he's back in Brazil, and they kind of part own him. And I'm sure there's probably better out there. David, no disrespect to Yuri Alberto, but I'll come to him in a moment. David, opinions aside, David Gold family must be thinking shame he's missing all this transformation. That is a good point. Yeah, absolute shame. Vinay, I want to see 7% possession. Be careful what you wish for. Mandy, are we going to be West Ham and lose to Luton after beating the Chelsea? Well, that would be West Ham, wouldn't it? That would be typical West Ham United. Where we go, let's not forget, it's Luton's first game at home in the Premier League. They're going to be so up for it. Usual. Deitch is the firm favourite to be the first Premier League sacking. I doubt it. I doubt it. I think poor old, what's his name, at Wolves might be the first. Might be one or two others as well. Sheffield United manager and so on. Time to get rid of Cornet, Ings, Creswell and Johnson. I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that when I can get down to clearing these initial hellos and comments, etc. Mike WHU. Tragic thing is when it goes wrong, it's dreadful. I still say judge after 10 games. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. If we lose playing this type of football, it won't be pretty. It won't be nice. And people will have the knives out and they'll be calling for Moyes' blood. Black Country, that's right, Stell. Used to work in Italy, early 90s. Crap football, 10 behind the ball. But they loved it, didn't they, Black Country? They absolutely adored that sort of football. Miss Smith, from one YouTube highlight video, Alberto looks like a hunk of a man, chunk embryonic Adriano. Fetched him. You know more about him than I do. Douglas, good evening to you. Thank you very much. I'm much appreciated. Good evening to you, Ross. How are you? Will Kudus play against Luton? I think he'll get some game time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sai, it was good to see you. Always good to see you on Saturday, mate. He was superb, wasn't he? Absolutely phenomenal goalkeeping at the weekend. Shane, good evening to you. Do you think Lingard will be picked over Kudus? And seems like Dinos isn't wanted by Moyes either. Probably another player that won't get picked. No, I don't think so, to be quite honest with you. I think Kudus is going to be an exciting player for West Ham, and I think he will play. And I don't know. And the thing is, they both play different parts of the field. Okay, they can both play further forward, yes. But even though Kudus is left-footed, he never plays on the left side of attack. He always plays either in the middle, false number 9, striker, or out on the right. Lingard can play central attacking midfield, but also preferably on the left side, cutting in. So, no, I don't think it will be one or the other. I think you'll see games where they both might play. Of course, we haven't signed Lingard yet. Michael, good evening to you. Better off without 41. Too much up it, getting his own way and disruptive. I did say that. I don't mean it in a bad way. Let's not knock Mr. Number 41. But unfortunately, it's kind of proven to be right. We look so together at the weekend. I'm not kidding. We look really like everyone was really running and playing for each other. It was really, really good to see. And I know we defended a lot of the time, but you know what? It's what you do with it. I've got some stats about the game in a moment. Brighton were decent, but you got to put the ball away, haven't you? You know, if you got the chances, you got to put them away. Hammer it. Seems like a great time to play City in a couple of weeks. Of course it will be. They've looked shaky by their standards the last 2 games. We'll smash them. We'll absolutely smash them. 3-1 defeat. Sean, I lost my debit card at Pudding Mill Lane. Didn't see it, mate. Sorry about that. Miss Smith, counter-attacking football can be thrilling. It's a foxtrot gone wrong. Slow, quick. Strictly starting soon. Foxtrot, yeah. You know winter's coming, don't you? When they start advertising Strictly on TV. Yes, I watch Strictly. And yes, I love it. You know, it's great. Great entertainment, especially those winter days when you come home from football and it's been shit. And you go, fucking, what's going to cheer me up? Strictly. Wi-Fi. No, it's not you. Sorry about that. The Wi-Fi. See, we've had problems all day. Back. Fasingo, with these new signings, what do you reckon is our best 11? Oh, I don't know. I can't tell you at this moment in time what our best 11 will be. But someone mentioned about, give it 10 games, etc. And then I'll come to that. That's a good shout though. Daz, good evening to you. Stella, I don't want us to let anyone leave at this point. Having that depth will be important. I think what's happening is there will be a few players that will leave that are kind of fringe players. I think that's going to be the problem. Mandy, Kudus is eager, enthusiastic, ambitious, and wants to entertain. Moyes won't like that. He will. Hammerette, did you see Kudus' agent on the jet and had a moan at Romano? I did. For claiming the pick was his and not mentioning her. Yeah, I did see that. Good evening to you, Graham. I've lost a few people there. Sorry about that. I can't help it. I don't know what's happening with the Wi-Fi. We've had problems all day with it. Graham, the Moyes Steidten combo seems to be working after all. So who was spreading the poison still? Honestly, I don't know. I was getting stuff fed to me, and I'm sure other channels were getting stuff fed to them. And you just got to sometimes, instead of saying verbatim, this is what's happening, you've got to take it with a little bit of pinch of salt and go, is that really what's happening? And I wasn't sure. Some of the things that were being said was being said by an agent, apparently. And I can understand why the agent might have been upset. Why? Because this particular agent might not get a lot of business because of Steidten. So you can see how these rumors spread. Sometimes these rumors come about and not come about for the right reasons. Good evening, Peter. How are you? I can't say a lot more. I've almost said too much there as it is. Good evening, Peter. How are you? Andrew. And Naziri will be the cherry on the cake if we can get him top striker. I don't like him. No disrespect to him. I think he's decent, but he's had 2 average seasons the last couple of seasons. I don't think he's really the type of player we want. I remember when we played Seville, I wasn't that impressed with him then. A couple of seasons ago, he scored what, 7 or 8 goals in the last couple of each season. I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you, Andrew. I still think there's better out there, to be honest with you. Wolf Central, good evening to you. I hope you're well. I usually don't like watching defensive football, but I have actually enjoyed Chelsea and Brighton. It can be entertaining. I tell you what, when you're at a game, I guess because the game feels like it's going so fast, even though we might be defending for a long time, it doesn't feel bad. And maybe when you're watching it on TV, maybe it's very, very different. Maybe it's very different because if you see the other team holding onto the ball for large chunks of the game, yes, as a fan of the team that doesn't have the ball, yes, it can be a bit boring. But when you're at a game, I don't know, maybe because of the atmosphere, the away atmosphere, etc., it feels very, very different. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Can someone lend me £1 so I can put it in the meter for the for the Wi-Fi? Adam Sojik has been playing well. He does a good job and gives everything. But like the whole seem to be playing that. They all seem to be playing for each other and brought the Moyes' game plan. This is what Bowen kind of alluded to. He's kind of said we're playing for, he almost admitted that he's happy to play this. He said something like, why should we not play the game? Why should we not play a style that suits us? Why are we trying to do something different if it doesn't work for us? He kind of more or less said, look, it works. It works. This counter-attacking football works for us. I'm happy being part of it. I'm happy to drop deep, pick the ball up, hit other teams on the break because it works. We've scored 7 goals in 3 games. Yeah, we can score goals for Toffee last season. We didn't have a point on the board in the first 3 games of last season. All of a sudden, we got 7 goals. The thing I don't like is we're still conceding. Be really, really nice not to concede, and hopefully that might happen on Friday. Who knows? But it'd be nice not to concede, keep a couple of clean sheets. But we're scoring, which we weren't doing last season. So all good. Tyler Leach, good evening to you. Always ready for a Stell stream on a Monday. Well, unless the bloody Wi-Fi breaks down, mate. But thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Good evening to you. Epic, how are you? There's a Yuri Alberto mistake compilation video on YouTube. He's a striker version of Harry Maguire. I think I saw that earlier. I was looking through and I checked about 30 seconds of it. Didn't look good. Good evening to you, Andy. I hope you're well. We need to thank Declan. The money he brought in allowed us to sign these stellar players. This could be a brilliant season. It really is. I mean, do you remember at the end of the season, I don't know if I did a show on it, if I was talking to people, in Facebook group chats and all that. And I suggested that we'll be better off without Declan, and someone said, what are you talking about? How can you possibly say that? We just avoided relegation with Declan Rice in the team. What makes you think that we're not going to get relegated without Declan Rice? How silly of you. I know it's early days, but don't we look solid? There's a different feel about the football team. I get it. I get the whole thing about possession-based football. Totally understand that. Totally would love to have a little bit more of the ball. Let's try and get to 30%. Hey, come on. Let's live a little and try and get to 30% possession. But look, being silliness aside, yes, I get the whole thing about possession-based football. It's not great, but it's the effectiveness, isn't it? Good evening to you, Manji. Oh, sorry, I've already said good evening to you. There are several players who aren't being used to their full potential and need to be swapped out for ones who will be. Well, Benny suffered that at the weekend. He didn't fulfill his potential at the beginning of the season. He kind of fell to the sidelines for it. And I think what Moyes will do, I think you're probably going to see a little bit more rotation this season. Moyes will remember what happened 2 seasons ago, when we were in the Europa League again, where players were burnt out by January. And the biggest mistake we made was we didn't have anyone coming in order to sort of refresh the squad, etc. And I think Moyes may have that in the back of his mind. And I think you may see a lot of players, coming in and out. I was asked earlier who would play, Lingard or Kudus. Both will. All the players that we're getting in, there might be players that will leave in this window, but they're players that probably won't get an awful lot of game time. Beats, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Does anyone know if there are any Scottish West Ham supporter groups? There are. I'm dying to travel down to a game, but not on my own. Mate, message me on West Ham Voice at gmail.com. And I'll put you in touch with a few because I know that there are quite a few. So message me on that and I'll get you linked up. Okay. Right. What else we got? Adam, stop going on about Rice. He's gone. Forget him and never talk about him again. I wouldn't, but people are bringing it up. What can I do? Yeah, Beats. So do that. Message me and I'll get you in touch with people. I might put you in touch with John. He's close-ish. He's in Ireland. It's close, isn't it? He runs an Irish group, so maybe you can come down with that bunch of riffraff. The diamond in the middle of the park is going to be deadly. I think that's what's going to happen. I think we will start playing with that more with the diamond shape. I totally agree. Schmiegel, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Tyler, JWP surprised me with how good he is box to box. We bought, what were people saying? Oh, just a set piece player. What else can he offer? Goodness me, he surprised us all, hasn't he? 2 assists, 1 goal in 2 games. Keep going, JWP. Mandy, Rice didn't want to sit in the front, back and behind the back 4, but that's what he has to do for. Well, the irony. What did I say? Every team that will buy him, or every team that he plays for, England, Arsenal, or any team he would have gone for, the first thing they're going to say to him is defensive midfield, mate. That's what you're good for. That's what you're good at. We allowed him too much leeway. But, I'm not dissing the guy. He brought us a couple of really, really good, decent seasons, and he also brought us £100 million. We're going to a European tour, starting with, I know I've done this one, starting went to Amsterdam, smoked some marijuana, came back home with Alvarez and a superstar from Ghana. There you go. That's the only stinging you're getting from me. Mimic. Hi, Stel. Glad I was wrong. 2 or 3 in looks more like 5. I know. I did say at the beginning of the transfer window, I'd be surprised if we get any more than 2 or 3. I'm glad I'm wrong as well, mate. Martin, Stel, thanks for the videos from games. They're great. I know. Well, do you know what's really frustrating, Martin, is I do them and I try to load them straight away. But because everyone's on their bloody phones at the same time when a goal goes in, it takes about 20 minutes to load up. But I'm glad you enjoy them. Wolf, Moyes has actually smiled the last 2 press conferences. He must mixed up his Billy. Good evening to you. Still, seeing as you're Greek, I'm sure you have realized Mavro means black. I do. Panos means Peter. Yeah. BBC has blue Peter. West Ham has black. I love that. Bill, Moyes made a snide comment regarding Steidten in his comment. German not knowing the Premier League. I don't know if it was snide. He said something like he's got to get used to it or something like that. Do we take that as a snide? I don't know. Maybe we're reading too much into it. Maybe you did. I don't know. Johnny, I don't think the rumor about DM going commando was true. Obsidian, I'm not glad Rice has left, but I'm glad we've used his money well. I am too. Schmigel, take this with a pinch of salt, but I put Yuri Alberto's name in Facebook, and this Corinthian fan page came up with thousands of comments celebrating that he was leaving. He's not leaving just yet, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm not sure. I don't know. This ownership thing worries me. Spooky Duke, I'm enjoying the fact that we aren't discussing the board this time. Sully being quiet is the best, isn't it? It is, actually. When he goes quiet, things are going all right. Graham, I believe that we're currently a better team without. See, I think a lot of people think that. There will be fans that will think that, better to have had him. But at this moment in time, it's looking fantastic, isn't it? Have I caught up? No, I haven't. Fasingo, it looks more like players are taking responsibility and rising to the occasion after Rice has left. More leaders on the pitch. I make you right there. I think you are correct on that. Sure. Sean, Yuri Alberto's YouTube highlights reel makes him look worse than Masuaku. Bring him, I say. Bring him in. I've got to have someone to moan about. Rossi, even still, we'll welcome Jesse back. Cracking when he's with us, but didn't he drop us for Forest? He did drop us for Forest. Silly boy. And I think he's realised the error of his ways. He could be a European winner now, couldn't he? Andrew, Paquetá looks happy on the field and can hopefully now see the club's ambition with the new signings. I really hope he sticks with us as he's a great player. He's knocking him down. I really admire him for that. It could have really been easy for him to turn around and go, oh, fuck this. You've made me miss my chance. Well, not West Ham, but I've missed my chance to have this big move at Man City, etc., and all these things. These gambling stuff, etc. He hasn't shirked, has he? He's knuckled down. He's gotten on with it, and it's been absolutely superb to see. Hamret, Alberto doesn't look like a naturally gifted striker, but he works so hard. He's pretty quick and really suits the Moyes mold of Antonio-esque. Schmigel, if we're targeting strikers from Brazil League, then Pedro from Flamengo is the guy we should be going after. I'm going to talk about him in a little while. Mediocre White Mel, good evening to you. If Tim comes back with at least one more striker, where does that leave Ings and Mbama? Going to talk about that in a minute, especially Mbama. He's dripping with potential. High Championship or bottom Premier League side loan. Good shout. Let me get onto that. I want to get onto the show. I haven't done any part of the show. So why don't we sort of just jump in? Let's first of all talk about this man. So all you need to, I did this quickly, so it won't be all you need to know, but it'll be enough for you to know about Mohammed Kudus. As you know, we signed him on a 5-year deal with a 1-year option, £37.5 million plus add-ons. The contract includes an additional 1 year on top. The player will wear the number 14 shirt. He asked for that specifically. Shades of the great Cruyff, who wore the number 14 shirt for Ajax as well. Who knows? I'm guessing. So born on the 2nd of August 2000 in Nima, Ghana, 23 years of age. He's not very tall. He's almost as tall as me, 5'9". Youth development. He went to the Right of Dream Academy, which was created by some bloke who was at Man United. Can't remember his name. Created the Right to Dream Academy, which there are several around the world. This one was in Ghana, and he was there between 2010 to 2018. He was spotted there and given an opportunity to go to Nordsjælland. I don't know if I've said that right, in Denmark, where they signed him up, and he was there for 2 years. He made 57 appearances, scoring 14 goals and 3 assists. With that, he got his senior move to Ajax in the Netherlands, who's made 86 appearances, 24 goals and 12 assists. What's interesting is a lot of people have saying, why is the Man United manager, why wasn't he all over this? Well, apparently he preferred Anthony. And a lot of people are saying Anthony has been pretty poor for Man United. So it's a real surprise that Man United didn't go in for Kudus, but fine for us. International career. In 2016, he appeared for the under-17s, making 4 appearances, scoring 1 goal. 2018, the under-20s, 5 appearances, 1 goal. And he's since made the Ghana 2019, since 2019, the senior team, 24 appearances, 7 goals. He scores goals. He's a goal machine. Even though he's an attacking midfielder that can play up front, he's an absolute goal machine. Player stats last season: 42 appearances in all competitions, 18 goals, 7 assists. Pass attempts, 87%, 88% pass attempts. Take on success rate, 68%. Even though he's short, a decent 44% aerial dual success rate as well. This is the bit you won't like. This is the bit that you're not going to like. Major injuries. 2021-22, he had a meniscal injury. He missed 17 games. Then he had an ankle injury. When he came back, missed a further 8 games. In 21-22, that should say cracked rib, not a cracked RI, because I have no idea what an RI is. Cracked rib, missed 13 games. Now, look, all right, the meniscal, the ankle, one could say bad challenges or whatever could have caused that. Cracked rib, definitely someone, bad challenge could have... It doesn't look good, does it? Missing all those games. Player strengths. Plays across. Oh, see, I did this quickly, people. Might forgive my bad spelling. Plays across the attacking third, not the attacking thread. Can play as a false number 9. He plays in the striker role. He plays the right winger. How many bloody spelling errors have I got there? Can run the channels. Great shots on target. Great speed. Can ghost into the box. If anyone managed to see the game he played, the last game he played for Ajax, where he was playing as a right-sided attacking midfielder, his second goal was almost as if he was a striker. He ghosted into that penalty area, avoided all the defenders, and only had the keeper to beat. Decent. Forgive my misspelling. You know what I'm trying to say here, don't you? Welcome to West Ham. Now, by the way, that for Kudus is something that he's not just learned just because he's at West Ham. They do that. Part of the, what was it I said that he was at? The Right to Dream Academy. Part of the Right to Dream Academy was doing that. It was down rather than sort of up. And so, yeah, it comes naturally to him to do the crossed hammers. So welcome. Now, what about the game? Well, as I've said, it's taken us something like 12 or 13 attempts to beat Brighton in the Premier League, and we've finally done it. It's the first win since, I think, 2012 when we were in the Championship. There were some players, who do we praise first? I mean, some superb performances. Full debut for Alvarez was absolutely superb. He was on his, last legs before he was taken off. Great defending from the whole team. Now, I've been given this player an awful lot of stick for an awful lot of time and suggested his time was up. But hats off, credit where credit's due for Mikel Antonio's performances so far this season. He was great against Chelsea. He was absolutely superb against Brighton at the weekend. He was involved in all 3 goals. The assist for James Ward-Prowse, of course, for our first goal. The second goal, where I said earlier on, he won the ball deep in our own half. He got it out, got it to whoever it was. I've forgotten his name. And the cross for Bowen's goal was absolutely phenomenal. We got it to Benrahma, and then the cross from Benrahma. And then the way he took his goal, when it was passed to him by Bowen, and he dinked, didn't he? He kind of like, The defender lost him. He turned and a superb strike. Superb strike. This is the Antonio we knew of 2-3 seasons ago. I'm glad he's back. Look, can we rely on him to do it the whole season? That's the bit I don't know about. But he was absolutely phenomenal, and credit where credit is due. I said earlier on about the whole possession-based stats. 22% is not great. If we have a look at the stats, 78% possession is a lot for a team that could really hurt us. And they did try. They had 25 shots on target to our 12. Look, for all the possession we had, we still had 12. We still had 12 shots. 10 of their shots were on target. 7 of ours were on target. So we did a lot better. But I do accept that the reason why many of those shots didn't go in was because of Areola. He had an absolutely superb game. Look, it's all about being clinical. If Brighton were more clinical, then yeah, they would have won the game. And a team that's more clinical will probably, do a lot better against us. There's no denying this, and there's no denying that. But that's what excites me about, having Kudus coming in, because he is a natural goal scorer. So we're going to have players like Bowen, if Antonio maintains his form, if Lingard comes in, and then Kudus as well, we've got goal scorers, even if we don't get a striker before the end of this transfer window. Let's also not forget the defending that we did. We were missing a Gerd through suspension, so that was an even better performance. And Oggy has been another, a stalwart. When we thought that Oggy's career was over, he's come back and he keeps proving us wrong over and over again. I can't tell you who my man of the match was. Alvarez for his superb performance, JWP for his performance, Antonio for his, or could it have been Areola who pulled off? I mean, he made something like 6 or 7 saves in the game, and about 4 of those were just absolutely stunning saves, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm so pleased for him. I'm so pleased that he's been given his opportunity, and I'm so pleased that he's paying back the chance that he's got. Superb. Right, let's go in chat before the next part of the show. Cameron, quick fire question with a yes or no, bud. Would you take a Saudi owner willing to spend yes or no? No. I'll tell you for why. Because I'm not so... you asked me yes or no. The answer is no. Look, this board... there's a big myth with the current board, and please don't think I'm going to start backing the board or anything, but there's a big myth that they don't spend money. They do spend money. I get it. You've got the owners of Chelsea, you've got the owners of Newcastle, etc., they're just splashing cash. They're going to be FUCKED when financial fair play catches up with them, because how they're getting away with how much money they're spending right now, Arsenal included, etc., is dodgy. It's dodgy beyond belief. It's gonna catch up with them. And no, I mean, you can have mega rich owners, but they can only spend money within boundaries. Then it's no different. And that's what FFP is played properly, is used properly. Then it doesn't matter how rich the owners are; they're still not going to be able to overspend. How Newcastle, actually, credit to them, haven't overspent, but Arsenal have, Chelsea have. These teams, it's going to catch up with them. So no, the answer is no. The current owners have never used the money wisely. Now, Tim Steidten can actually use the money wisely for West Ham United. And we've always spent money, but not wisely in the past. So no, the answer is no. I wouldn't, to be quite honest with you. Michael, when Valiant wants to go to sleep, it watches Moyes Paul. But yeah, you don't sleep when we're scoring, though. Wolf, I looked into the Brazilian guy, but he doesn't seem that great statistically, if that matters to anyone. I don't know enough about him. Miss Smith to fresh. I watched one and liked the cut of his jib raw, but how many strikers are matured by 22? Good point. But if you're gonna have a striker who's 22, then why not give Mbama a shot rather than going and buy someone who's not going to be the dog's bollocks? Hammers Mikey, Wolf Central in it, all messed up. People identifying themselves with cardboard boxes of washing machine, bringing back the 80s. I don't know what you're talking about, but I kind of get the gist. Sean, back to Mrs. Smith. Who was that other Brazilian we were linked to a couple of years ago? Not so sure. Caleri? Someone mentioned Caleri there. Stephen, good evening to you. Perhaps Moyes now understands that as technical director, Tim is in charge. Let's face it, some surprise he included Alvarez from the start when he's not Premier League ready. See, maybe he saw enough in training to realise that Alvarez was absolutely ready to start. Paul, thank you. I really do. I don't expect it, but I really do appreciate it when people give me a little bit of money. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's great. Schmeigel, I still want Jonathan David. It doesn't have a huge buyout clause. I'm shocked no one has put a bid in for him yet. Only Haaland scored more goals than him in the whole of Europe last season. That's a good shout. That's an interesting shout. Maybe we've just run out of money. We've only got about 15 million left. I know people have questioned this. Does that mean we're only spending money that we've brought in for summer transfer windows? The truth is, yes, I'm afraid that we have. You know, we brought in 131 million pounds worth of roughly of transfer money. We've spent 15 million short of that so far. The board doesn't want to put their hands in their pocket any more than they have to. They spent a lot of money last season in the summer transfer window, 165 million, when Kretinsky loaned the club money in order to spend in the transfer window. They don't want to do that this summer, to be honest with you. I don't. What? And why shouldn't transfers be self-funding? I don't have a problem with that at all. Eamon, good evening to you. When Liverpool were playing counter-attacking football a couple of seasons ago, all the pundits and fans were drooling over them doing it. Now we're doing it. It's now boring football. See, it's not just us that play counter-attacking football. If it's effective, then why not? I do admit, I'll say it again, I do admit I'd rather we had a bit more possession. Absolutely. But at the same time, if counter-attacking football works, then why not? IronX, good evening to you. Steidten can't go all the way to Brazil without bringing back at least 3 players. His jet won't take it. Probably only fits to 3 people. Him, 4, including the pilot. Him, the pilot, the player, and the agent. Can't get any more in. Conan, good evening to you. Surely we can't get rid of any homegrown players. Well, we can, and I'll explain in a minute when I get back. When I manage to get to the transfer part of the show. Montana, who cares what pundits think, Eamon? Let them moan, it's their job. They're not actually. They praised us, didn't they? Good evening to you, Fizzer. Ironics, he'll need a bigger jet. There you go. El Crago, good evening to you. Looks like this Yuri Alberto is basically the Brazilian Antonio profile. That's why we're scouting him. I kind of, if I know anything about him, that's about the closest that he is, a bit like an Antonio type player. Schmeigel, he totally looks like the better striker than Brazilian one, but he doesn't fit straight into under Moyes. Another Scamacca, you're talking about Pedro. And yeah, Pedro is more like a Scamacca than our whatever his name, Yuri thingy is. I know. Stella's frozen. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. How far behind am I on that? God, how long ago was that? That was about 20 minutes ago. Finn, good evening to you. With how slow we do signings, will we really have 2 more by the end? Yes. It's like one of those old-fashioned broadband machines where you have to dial-up machines. Start slowly and then it goes fast. And that's the way we do our transfers. Yeah, I believe we will probably get another couple of players in. James, I think Stell's other half is pulling. I'll tell you, it's been a shit day for Wi-Fi. Give a little tap on the like button. Thank you very much. Subscribe if you're not part of it. Thank you, Hammer It. Much appreciated. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got here? Peter, I think Brighton underestimated us after the record that they have against us. Good point. That could be good point. 1K Sessions, good evening to you. Can we sack Moyes if he's still trying to get Maguire? I'll give you an update on Maguire in a minute. Is Yuri Alberto a smokescreen? We're going for the Flamengo striker who used to play for Fiorentina instead. Do you mean Pedro? Is that the player you mean? Right, I'll tell you what. Why don't I go into the next part of the show? Because it ain't a long one. Because it's all about... Look, by the way, no women's football to talk about today. I bet you'll be really disappointed to hear that. You know, there's no news to bring you on the women's football. They haven't been playing, but also no under-18s either. However, the under-21s have been in action because last Tuesday, they played against Valencia in the Premier League International Cup at Chigwell. The under-21s, now coached by Steve Potts, produced a resolute performance as they beat Valencia 1-0. It was a good contest last Tuesday. It looked as though the match was going into stalemate, but Gideon Kadua produced a moment of real quality, finding the ball into the bottom corner late in the tie. So fantastic to him. Now, I've been telling you that I don't think Mark Robson's been doing really well with the under-21s. Now Robson has been promoted to one of the coaches for the senior team under Moyes. Steve Potts has taken over the under-21s, and I think they are already better for it. They're already playing very different football. They're playing very on the front foot type of football, and they look superb. By the way, they play 5 at the back, so don't think it's all attacking. I think they're flourishing. I think they've now had something like 3 wins on the trot because the next game that they played was at the weekend where they hit away from home. Leeds United 5-2. They beat them. Caelan Casey struck the first goal, poking home Ollie Scholes' corner. And then Gideon Kudus scored his second goal of the week. Callum Marshall got a hat-trick. And George Earthy showed his class as well. Absolutely superb. Really, really pleased for them. They're really back on form. And a lot of these young players are part of the under-18 squad that won the league and cup double last season. So well done. And I think Potts in charge is making it very, very, a very different setup for them. I'm really pleased. Some loan news. Mason Terry, after a fantastic season in the under-18s last season, he's been sent on loan to semi-league side Concord Rangers in the National League South. And get it, but it's a little bit like Jacob Knightbridge, another keeper who was sent out on loan last season to non-league side Harrow Borough. So there's something going on. I don't know. Get game time, I guess. I kind of wish that our players will go out on loan to maybe sort of lower league teams, rather than going out of the league at all. But anyway, Freddie Potts was also in action at the weekend, playing for Wycombe Wanderers, a late second half sub where they beat Bristol Rovers 2-1. So well done to him. Kamari Swire was also a late sub as well for Crawley Town. Not so good. They got absolutely hammered 6-0 by Swindon at the weekend. Another bit of loan news. Not a fantastic return for Nathan Trott for Vegel BK. They've been promoted to the Super League in the Danish in Denmark, but they're not doing too well. Tonight they played. It was their 6th league defeat in a row where they lost 1-0 to Bromby. I think relegation looms. As soon as they come up, they're going straight back down again. And of course, Flynn Downs, he made his debut in the new number 4 for Southampton at the weekend. He was a 25th minute sub when he came on, where they beat QPR 2-1. So well done to him. I think he's going to do phenomenally well at Southampton. I really do. What happens to him? Does that mean he's only championship level? I don't know. Right. Few more comments. Then I'm going to do the transfers, and then we'll go back to your comments after that. You know what? I did say to the other half, I said, there's something going on here. Does anyone else have problems with their Wi-Fi? Or is it just me? I know what you're going to say. It's only me. I know. Andrew. And Naziri is a more technical version of Antonio. Would slot into Moyes' tactics with these. I'm sure he will. I don't know what I don't like about him, but I'm not so sure about him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will. But it's kind of gone quiet on that front, to be honest. It's all about these Brazilian players. Schmiegel, the way Moyes obsesses and chases after specific players is creepy. He reminds me of a stalker. Good evening to you, Paul. How are you? Man City games are boring. The goals Saturday were pure entertainment. There you go. See, you don't want tippy tappy football when you could just smash 3 goals in and say job done. Stu, if we play more attacking against the lesser teams and sit back against bigger teams, would make a good compromise. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen on Saturday, to be quite honest. Friday night, sorry, to be quite honest with you. David, I'm sorry I can't have that Souček. Is truly lovely, genuine, hard-working, but I'm afraid he's one reason why we have so little possession. But he's done well for us. But yeah, I get that, understand that. Andrew, I love Rice. I love Rice, but I think the adulation and hype went to his head. He began to think he was too good for us. I'm glad he's finally gone, as it looks now to be a blessing in disguise. People were saying that earlier in the show as well. Miss Smith, does anyone know why a replay was never shown for Souček's injury? I was screaming for a penalty offside. He was taken out, and I'm surprised nothing was given, not even a booking or anything. So, yeah, good point. I don't know why it wasn't. I don't know. I was at the game, so I don't know. Didn't realise it wasn't repeated. Southside, good evening to you. I hope you're well. If we didn't sell Rice, how much money would have been available to spend roughly? Do you want me to be really honest? I was told, but then I don't know. But I can only go by what I'm told. I was told that there would have been an initial £20 million transfer, Kitty, because the hope. I think let's try and clear this up. I think it was pretty evident. They knew, West Ham United knew since last summer that the Declan Rice money was coming. And what they wanted, Sullivan did, got as much as they could for him. That was going to be our budget for this summer, which has turned out to be just that. Had we not sold Declan Rice, there wouldn't have been an awful lot of movement. Skamaka would still probably have gone. We would have sold Vlasic, etc. Maybe sold one or two other players a bit quicker as well. So maybe with the 20 million, we might have had up to another, 40, 50 million. We might have had enough for maybe 3 players, to be honest with you. So the Declan Rice money was nailed on to cover our transfer window for this summer. I know we don't want to hear that, but that's what I was told. Manji, we had 22% possession, scored 3 goals and let 1 in. So with 88% possession, we'd have scored 12 and let in 4. There you go. Bit of maths for you. Ian, yes, he has, Miss Hammerett. Yes, he has. What would Hammerett ask? I don't know. Eric, Mohammed Kudus looks amazing in the announcement video. Fit, strong, and ready to play. I think he's going to be great. Thank you, Beats. Much appreciated. When I finish the show, I'll reply to you. Really appreciate that. Montana. Villa and Newcastle also play on the counter. They do. Only difference is we play low block while others play mid block or high lines. Yeah, but it doesn't suit us. So if we could do that, it would be prettier, I guess. But you're right. We're not the only team that plays counter-attacking football in the Premier League. I guess, other teams play it in a slightly different way. We absorb a lot of pressure. I don't like it. We do absorb a lot of pressure. West Ham is better than the Gooners. Good evening to you, the Enforcers, gigantic trouser snake. Thank you for joining. And we are better than Gooners. There you go. Clive, it's very important to like and subscribe. Only 400 likes will prevent still suffering another hostage situation. If you don't know what the hostage situation is, I found the video. One day I may entertain you all and play it. It's awful. It really is. One of my early days when I was trying to promote, when I was with some other channel, I was trying to promote one of our sponsors, and I was awful at it. But I found the video. Robin, looking forward to an unbeaten run till Christmas. We could even do a Leicester and win the Premier. Why not? Why not? I mean, seriously, why not? Or get into the Champions League. We went close a couple of seasons ago. We're only 1 win away from getting into the Champions League a few seasons back. Why not? Montana. The only reason these pundits rub their noses is because we didn't pummel them 5 or 6. Next time, run up the score. We shall see what they say then. Yeah, but in fairness, Match of the Day 2 has given us quite a bit of, that was the Chelsea game. Even Jug Ears gave us a little bit of credit at the weekend. Even he did. Kudus is tall enough, Eric. 5'9". De Bruyne is 5 foot. There you go. You don't have to be tall to be a good player. Absolutely. John, are we going to see Dan Potts, Pelly Ruddock, and Reece Burke on Friday night? Reece Burke, you will. I don't know about the others, but I reckon Reece Burke will play. Definitely. Jeff, good evening to you. The Ghana Sports Channel guys are not impressed that Kudus is now playing for Moyes. Who cares? Spooky, thank you still. Loving your insights and have come late to your channel. You will get a thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Do what Spooky does. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It makes sense. You can hear me being boring all the time. It's me, Sam. Good evening to you. Alvarez did say the best players he's ever played with was Anthony. Maybe he's just not cut out for Man United. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So if Anthony was the best player he's played with, imagine what Kudus is going to be like for West Ham United. Miss Smith, as the great late Mitch Hedberg said about rice, I don't like to eat anything when there's thousands of them. David, I heard an opinion that Yuri Alberto is more of a physical like Antonio rather than Pedro, who's more of a layer type player. Never like criticizing him play before he even signs. Let's support him. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's the difference between the two. Hamret, I don't like those YouTube clips of players' best bits. Could make Slabhead look like the best defender in the world. He was once, wasn't he? Kind of close. Keith, Kudus' only position he hasn't played apart from goalkeeper is left midfield, but that could adapt, I'm certain. I don't want him to play in a position that he doesn't want to play in or hasn't played in. I'm happy for him to play central midfield. I'm happy for him to play attacking mid, striker, false number 9, out on the right. Let's stop with all this experimenting. Moyes is going to experiment this season. You are going to see Bowen playing up front for quite a lot of the season. I won't be surprised if he does. Eddie. We'll catch the rest of the show later. Lunch break up 4 o'clock. Where are you, by the way? I'm not sure I know where you are. 4 p.m. here, so got to head back to work. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Really, really appreciate you coming on. Montana. Man City slapped Arsenal at the Emirates last season 3-1 on 30% possession. That proves the Moyes plan. There you go. I didn't know that. Let's try and catch up so I can get onto the transfer. The exciting bit, not so exciting bit, is coming up. Fasingo. Transfers. Mitoma is on fire, but the defensive structuring and grit neutralized one of the most informed winners. I like him. I like Mitoma. I think he's a decent little player. Manji. Kudus, Bowen, Antonio, Lingard, supplied and supported by Ward-Prowse and Paquetá, with Souček and Dinos bombing forward. Lots of opportunities for marauding raids to get goals, and more goals. Look at that. Look at that positivity. Good evening to you, Kevin. How are you? Happy days being a Happy Hammers fan lately. Absolutely, mate. Adam, if we had 22% all season and won the league, no one would moan. It's about winning, not losing. Get behind Moyes, stop all the Moyes out, enjoy it while we're winning. Absolutely. Fasingo. Antonio is almost like he was in his prime. Nobody knows what's going to happen when he gets the ball. I love it. We still need a good backup strike. We do. Look, I said it. I did say, we can't rely on Antonio for another season. He's proving me wrong. Long may it rain. I don't know how long it will rain for, but we do, like I said earlier, we do need some other players that to be backup, to be not just backup, but challenging for a first team place. Because can you not hear me again? I hope you can. Everyone is saying no Wi-Fi sound. Oh no. Oh, loud and clear now. Okay. Look, I want other players to come in, and not just as backup, but also to be competing for a place in the team. So I think we are looking at getting a couple more players. One of them will be probably a striker. The other one, I think, left back. But I'll come to that in a minute. Clive, question for you: if Paquetá does go to Man City, do you feel that Kudus will slot? No, they're not the same players. Completely different positions. Paquetá is more of a central, sort of deeper playmaker type player. Kudus is more of an attacking. No, it was never going to be one or the other. I'm excited to see both of them in the team. So no, I don't think Kudus will. It will give us a spot, obviously, where Kudus could go, but Kudus wouldn't fit in to where Paquetá plays. He won't play central midfield. I think that'll be the Alvarez and Ward-Prowse midfield duo if Paquetá leaves. But I don't think Paquetá is leaving. And I know people are talking about him might be going in January. No fucking way. He'll be going. If he goes, he'll go next summer. We expect that. We kind of almost like we know now that that's one of the first players that might get sold next summer. But I don't think he's leaving before Friday. There's no way. And there's no way he's going to be leaving in January, because we're going to be pushing to win the Europa League after we go through the group stages. And then we're going to get ready for the knockout stages. And we'll be winning that and then going in the Champions League next season. And then he won't want to leave. And then Declan will be looking over his shoulder going, why did I go? David M. Oh, fuck me, I'm dreaming. David N. There must have been West Ham fans that have predicted correctly which strikers that have come in and which have been disastrous. So why don't we just trust Tim and David, whatever striker we bring in? Good shout. Good shout. The trouble is we've been burnt a little bit, haven't we? Hilaire and Skamaka, both very good players. I wonder how Skamaka's getting on. I'm going to check that out. Very good players, but weren't used in the right way. We know they weren't. Apache, Right to Dream Academy. Is that a euphemism for this live chat when the clock hits midnight? I'm trying to catch up. Montana. Cornet would do a job for Sheffield, Palace, or them, man. Pity it didn't work out. Cornet's going nowhere. Unless you've heard otherwise tonight. Terence, can't believe we're still signing players with only 15 million left, unless on loan. That's more like it. Hammers Mikey. Tyler, Masuaku went for 50 quid. Not far off. And a packet of Weathers Originals and Lumpogo Fringes. He went for that much? Bloody hell. It's me, Sam. Still, do you think we'll bring in a left back or a right back cover? Left back, I think. I'm not comfortable with Creswell and Johnson as cover. I think left back. John, where is... You are a bastard. Where is Silverman? Montana. To be fair to Declan, Moyes caved in. That's the last time I tell you anything. Moyes caved in to all his demands. Now Arsenal complaining he's not a natural defensive midfielder. Well, they should have upped their problem, not ours. The show's so good you've hit the like button. That means you've unhit the like button. Don't hit it twice. Hit it again for the third time to make sure it's been liked. Andrew, I like Zuma a lot, but his knees look ready to give way at any time. So if the Saudis come in with a big offer, I can see it happens. With Maguire coming in to replace, interesting. He's not on my list of players that might go, but that's an interesting shout. Sean Barbosa, yes, Barbosa, who played for Flamengo for a couple of years. Gabigol, that's him. Yeah, that all went quiet as well, didn't it? So I don't know. Are these signings going to happen from Brazil? I'm not sure. Ben, I enjoy watching highlights. Can't watch a full game with Moyes in charge. Not my cup of tea. It's different when you're at a game. I don't know. I haven't watched a game on TV. I'm lucky that I can go to games, but I haven't watched a game on TV for years, so I don't know what it's like watching us play. I will do the first away game in Europe when we're banned. I'll be watching that. I might do a watch along. I'll be watching that from home, and then I might realize what people are seeing when they're watching it on TV. Montana, still, the players are on a mission. I will not be surprised if we collect 2 trophies. I'd take any of them that we're in. Fuck, you're being greedy. I'd love that. That would be fantastic. Who else we got? I'll tell you what, I need a drink. So I'm going to go into the transfer part of the show. So hang on a second, and I'll be back in 1 second. Right. So, in this transfer part of the show, what we're hearing at the moment is there are likely to be 2 players that we sign in the transfer window. And people have been alluding to, it's quite likely that there'll be players that coming in, maybe on loan. We've got, give or take, 15 million left in the transfer kitty. Now, the players that are potentially mentioned that could be on the move, there are others as well. But the main ones, I've been told, we're looking at the possibility of moving on fringe players. Now, I don't know if you want to call these 5 players fringe players. Ben Johnson, Aaron Creswell, Danny Ings, Colin Coventry, and potentially Maxwell Cornet. I've been told that it's a possibility that we're looking at fringe players going. I think when people say, when I've been told fringe players, I think what's meant in players that are unlikely to get a lot of game time this season. Look, we already know Ben Johnson, he's got an issue with his contract. He was offered a contract last season. He didn't sign it. It's still on the table. Negotiations have kind of stalled. He's in the last year of his contract. So we either let him go. We either let him go, or he goes on a free at the end of the season and may not get an awful lot of game time. Aaron Creswell is in much the same situation. We've heard what happened. Aaron Creswell wasn't training with the senior team, etc., training on his own and so on and so forth. And he wants a move. And I see this as very much like the Craig Dawson scenario of this time last summer, where Dawson wanted to move for personal reasons, but that didn't happen until Christmas. I think quite possibly Creswell may stay. Maybe. And I think maybe Ben Johnson may leave. Danny Ings, we've heard. Oh, by the way, Wolves might be back in for Creswell. Now that Matthias Nunes might be going to Man City as the replacement to Paquetá, it's possible that that Wolves now may have the money that they need in order to strengthen their squad. And Creswell may be one of those players that may go there. I think with regards to Johnson, Southampton apparently are interested. I think another 1 or 2 championship teams are. I don't think he'll want to go there. But also Everton are apparently interested in Ben Johnson as well. Now, we hear that Everton are interested in Danny Ings. And there's a high possibility that if we do get a striker in, then Danny Ings may be leaving as well. Connor Coventry is an interesting one because there's been no mention of him. But in terms of, and someone asked about homegrown players, we need 8 in the squad. He is one of the homegrown players at the moment that is keeping that sort of number up. And then, of course, Maxwell Cornet. We don't know what's happening with Cornet. We kind of thought that after all his injuries, etc., that Maxwell Cornet may have a bit of game time. He's not come on yet, has he? He's not played at all, and I don't know. And maybe he might be considered as a fringe player as well. So there's a chance, there's a likelihood that West Ham United may be letting. I doubt very, very much we'll let all 5 players go, but I think maybe 1 or 2 may be on the move. Now, when it comes to homegrown players, these are the 8 that we've got. Now, I haven't included Divine and Barmer in that 8. Would have been 9 otherwise, because he's registered. He can be registered for the under-21s, the development squad. He doesn't have to be registered for the senior team because of his age, etc. But the homegrown players that we've got, Jared Bowen, Joseph Anang, goalkeeper, Ben Johnson, Aaron Creswell, Mikel Antonio, Connor Commentary, Danny Ings, and of course, James Ward-Prowse. They're the 8 homegrowns. Now, if any of them leave, then we're going to have to get, so 1 leaves, we're going to have to get a homegrown in. 2 leaves, homegrown, 2 homegrowns, and so on and so forth. So if the likelihood is that we keep, Danny Ings and Johnson or Creswell leave, then we're going to have to get 2 homegrown players in. Now, as it stands, we are not linked. We're only linked to 1 homegrown player, which I'll come to in a minute, which is why I don't think Connor Commentary and Joseph Anang are going to be going anywhere. They're likely to probably stay in order to keep the homegrown numbers to what we need. That's what's looking likely. Joseph Anang and Connor Commentary are going to be very important to the squad this season, but not for their playing time. Unfortunately, I cannot see, with the greatest of respect to both of them, I can't see Joseph Anang ever playing a game unless we get injuries to one of our goalies, and then he might come in as the number 2. So I don't think Joseph Anang will get much game time, if any at all. I think maybe the same with Connor Commentary. Maybe, actually, tell a lie. You might see a little bit of game time for Connor Commentary in the European games when we've won the game, 2 minutes to go, and then Coventry might come on to keep it fresh, etc. So Bowen ain't going anywhere. Antonio could still possibly leave, but I think given his form at the moment, I don't think David Moyes would want to let him go at all. Of course, we're not going to get rid of Ward-Prowse. So it kind of leaves us with Ings, Creswell, and Ben Johnson. And I think quite possibly 2 of those 3 could be leaving in this transfer window. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, when it comes to the 1 player that we're linked to that's homegrown is Ian Matson. Now, it's because the reason why he's considered homegrown is because at Chelsea is because he's been with the Chelsea youth development team for a number of years. I can't remember what it is, but enough for him to be considered a homegrown player. So if, for example, Aaron Creswell or Ben Johnson leaves West Ham, then it sounds like we want to go in for Ian Matson. There's been interest in the player for quite some time, and it's possible that we'll be going in for a loan deal for him in order to get him into West Ham United. If Chelsea don't agree to that, then it's possible we may offer the money that they think he's worth, which is something between 15 to 20 million pounds. If Matson comes in, and if we lose either Johnson or Creswell, then you've got a homegrown for a homegrown coming in. So that's why we have an interest in Matson. Now, is this another reason why we're still linked to Harry Maguire? Now, it kind of came and went, didn't it? You know, we were going to buy Maguire, and then we went and got Mavropanos, and we thought that was it. But now the rumours are back again about Harry Maguire being on the radar, but this time as a loan deal. Now, again, he could be an option if, for example, we do lose another homegrown player, maybe Ings, maybe Creswell and Johnson, then Maguire will fit the homegrown criteria. I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong, that we should be letting a striker go in order to bring in a defender. That's not my meaning here. My meaning is more about, this is the link to the homegrown. If we let 2 homegrown players go, we need to bring 2 homegrown players in. It's a fine balancing act for Moyes. So I can understand it. Not that I want it, but I can understand it why Maguire could be the player that we're linked to again, more because of the homegrown need than anything else. Of course, Moyes has an ace up his sleeve, doesn't he? He has an ace up his sleeve because Jesse Lingard can also be signed. And, you know, if for argument's sake, we end up losing, I don't know, Antonio, Ings and Creswell, or Antonio, Ings and Johnson, we could sign Maguire, we could sign Maatsen, and we could sign Lingard, and then we're still up to our homegrown requirements. So there's a lot going on here. My gut's telling me that we will lose one of those two defenders, Johnson or Creswell. I don't think we'll lose both. I think quite possibly we'll lose Johnson in this summer window, and we could possibly lose Creswell in January. And then, of course, we'll have to replace him again with a homegrown player. And then also possibly lose Danny Ings. I don't think Moyes is going to want to let Antonio go. I can't see that. And if we do lose if we lose two, we've got to bring two in. The ace up Moyes' sleeve is Jesse Lingard. You know, you bring Jesse Lingard in, you've got your homegrown quota there. Interesting. It's going to be an interesting final few days. What have we got? Well, this day's gone now. It's going to be an interesting final few days of the transfer window. There will be things happening. It will be a couple of players at most. At most. Now, we all know Tim Steidten is over in Brazil. So what's he doing over there? Well, you've all talked about it already. The news tonight is that apparently we put in a £15 million bid for Yuri Alberto, which has been immediately turned down by the Corinthians. But as was talked about earlier on in the show, there's mass confusion over who owns this player. Because I was trying to rush through the show to get some details in on the script, and apparently he's been to Zenit St. Petersburg. He's back again at Corinthians, but Zenit part own him and Corinthians part own him. There's all this shared ownership of the player. And do you remember what happened last time we had a shared ownership player, Carlos Tevez, and all the shit that we went through then? I think West Ham, if they are going in for Yuri Alberto, they're going to have to be very, very careful about this ownership business so that we don't slip up in any way. Now, as already people have mentioned as well, there's another player out there that apparently we're looking at as an alternative to Yuri Alberto, and that's Pedro of Flamengo. Now, apparently, Pedro of Flamengo is linked because of Paquetá. They're good friends. They're really good friends. They sort of played in the same club at Flamengo together. They went through the system with together, etc. Played for the national team and so on. They're really good friends. Have kept in touch and so on and so forth. And the rumor is that we are linked to Pedro because of that. Now, the difference between the two, as people have already mentioned in the chat, is that ironically, I don't know the stats for these players because I haven't had time to look into them. But ironically, Yuri Alberto is much more similar in style to Antonio, in the way he plays his football, his approach to the game, etc., is much more similar to Antonio, which is why it's looking more like we're targeting this player first than anything else. Pedro, as people have alluded to, is a much more similar kind of player to Haller, to Scamacca, etc. So I'm sure he's probably a more prolific striker than Yuri Alberto, but unfortunately, if he comes in, then we're going to have the same problem as we did last season with Scamacca and the seasons before that with Haller. So it's looking like, I don't know. Steiden's out there. I've checked. I've asked. Is it a wind-up or is Steiden out? Steiden is definitely out in Brazil. Will he come back with an empty plane? I think we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think he will, but which player we're going to actually get, I can't tell you at this moment in time. I get the Yuri Alberto one, even though people are saying he's not very good, because he's very, very similar in his work rate, in his sort of output to Antonio. Will he be as effective? That I don't know. If you want a better striker, it's likely to be Pedro. But unfortunately, Pedro won't fit the Moyes system. Right, let's go into your chat. Andrew, if we play the same way against Luton on Friday, I think Moyes will put unnecessary pressure on himself. We can't be let Luton have 70% possession. I totally agree. Jason, breaking down less able teams when they sit back like last year is key to our development. We're better equipped than last season, I hope. I think we are. Terence of New Zealand, good evening to you. No more loaning money, getting ready to sell on, hopefully. I think we will sell a few players, but let's see what happens. The likely ones that I've said already are likely to be Ings. There's interest from Everton. Everton are also interested in Johnson and possibly Creswell. But I can't help feeling that maybe Creswell won't go until Christmas time. Adam, not Christmas, January window, sorry. With a new player, Moyes will have plan A, B, and C, and teams are going to struggle all year. Europa League win, top 6 at worst. Back the team and have faith it will happen. It possibly will. Banned, yes, we've been banned for the first game of the first away game of the Europa League. Fans can't go. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean that the team are going to be banned. Fans can't go to that away game because of what happened. Because of the bottle throwing, the cup throwing in the final against Fiorentina. Yes, Alkmaar got banned as well. They got a one match behind closed doors, etc. Imagine that for what they did in comparison to our ban. Oliver, I think Fornals, Ings, and possibly Cornet, Benrahma will go before the end of the window. I think that'll be too many, Oliver, to be honest with you. Fornals is an interesting one. That's gone a bit quiet. Ings, I think, is possible. Cornet is a possibility. I don't think Benrahma will go, because if Benrahma was going to go, then I would imagine Cornet will be starting rather than Benrahma. So I don't think he'll go. For Singo, if we get Maatsen, that will be great. I'm not saying it will happen, but that's the player that we're rumoured to be linked to at this moment in time. Howard, mushrooms and the green fairy, that's a night in. I don't know what angle you've got off there, mate. Mojo, not sure why Moyes, what Moyes will do when we go behind. Hoping the new signings will break his stubbornness and predictability, but not holding my breath. It'll be a completely different game, wouldn't it? If we do go behind, then see what we're made of. Good evening to you, Garino. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Hammers Mikey, if Fornals goes ahead of Benny and even Lingard, then I will erupt. I don't know. I know there's been rumour about Fornals going, swap deal for En-Nesyri. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. Even I'm not sure about En-Nesyri being the style of player that will fit the Moyes system, to be honest. Manji, Ings is more of a fringe player now. He's had his hair transplant. Good evening, 69. I've got to fly. Good evening, 69 Claret. Where did you get that shirt from? It's what do you call them? Trojan clothing, mate. Go to any mod website that sells clothes and look for Trojan clothing. It's from there. What else we got? Mojo. Oh, I've got this fly. I mean, it's one thing or another. I know you can't see it on the screen, but it's right in front of me, the little bastard. Mojo, Ings will have a full-on mullet next week and be on that advert. Get away. Eamon. Middlesbrough are supposedly looking at Johnson as well as Leeds and one other team from the Championship, Southampton, apparently. That's a big come down from Arsenal, supposedly wanted him 2 seasons ago. I don't think... will he go? I don't know. You'd be better off signing a new contract at West Ham, wouldn't he? Terence, it's getting a bit late to get players out the door without replacing them. So long as we still have a good 25 players in the squad. Yeah, I think it'll be absolutely like for like, Terence. I don't think we will get rid of players without bringing players in, which is why I think we're linked to Maatsen, because if it's either Johnson or Creswell, then Maatsen will come in for that. And the reason why I mentioned Johnson is because he obviously has played as left back in the past. So it would be either Johnson or Creswell for Maatsen, and then it probably Ings for a striker. And this bloody fly is pissing me right off. Anyway, got it. Right, get on with the bloody show now. It's one thing after another with my shows. Andrew, Everton look doomed. Will Ings want to go there? I think Everton are in a risk of being relegated this season. Massive risk. Miss Smith, it's sweet that he's so lacking in vanity that he goes with smashed in the face with a frying pan as his look. Who? What? Oh, you're talking about things, I'm guessing. Oh, what about Mbama? Right, what about Mbama? What happens to him? Well, I think it's really interesting with Mbama because if we do get, if Ings goes and we get another striker, then I think Mbama will be the third choice striker behind Antonio and behind any other striker, and then Mbama. If Ings doesn't go and we do get another striker, then it becomes difficult for Mbama. I don't know if he's going to get an awful lot of game time. I think someone asked me earlier on what happens with him. I think it's in the best interest of this young lad. If we do get another striker in and no strikers leave, then I think it's in his best interest to go out on loan this season and smash it for a team in the Championship. I bet you there's a queue of teams that would love to get Mbama as one of their strikers on loan for a season. I think it'd be really good for the young man. Sai. Creswell has been a good servant. Let him go if he wants. I totally agree. Totally agree with you on that. But I just wonder what's happening there. I think we won't let him go until we get a replacement. I think that's the plan. Garino, think we will struggle to bring in the other players we need. Centre forward, left back, central midfield, centre back, right back. We don't need all of them, in all honesty. Centre forward, I think would be good to have. Left back, I think would be good to have. And that's only if Ings and Creswell goes. Central midfield, don't think we need another one. Centre back, now that we've got Mavropanos, I don't think we need another one. And I know people are crying out for another right back, but I think at the moment that'll be shared between Kera and Soufal. I know it's not everyone's favourite choices, but I think that's what will happen. John, if we get Slabhead, J-Lings and Matson, we are laughing. We can sign loads of Brazilians. You know, that'll be interesting. If we get those three in, Maguire, I don't know about Maguire. I thought that was done and dusted. But I guess for the homegrown number of players that we need, I get it. Hammers Mikey, I'd rather a shot mannequin with no head or arms in our defence than Maguire. You know, the irony, Mikey, is I think he's actually a pretty decent central defender. I think he will actually do quite well for us, to be quite honest with you. I don't think he'll let us down. I mean, he's not ideal. I don't ideally want him, but I don't think he'll let us down. Sean, pissing around with pennies for Creswell when we're pissing around with millions for others. Give Creswell the respect he deserves. Been past his best by date for a couple of years. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, sure. Clive, Maguire's not the answer. No, I don't need to hear the question. You already heard it. Wolf, this is it. We don't need another centre-back. We've got 5 already. Unless there's one of our centre-backs leaving. But I can't see that. I can't see that. Mavropanos has only joined. Zuma is now captain. Agurd is a superb central defender. So Oggy, you know, is in his last year and he's been a stalwart for us. So no, you're absolutely right. Unless, of course, Moyes wants to go with 3 centre backs and he wants a couple in reserve. Maybe. Black Country. Oh my God, look at that face. What a brickhead. You talk. Me or Maguire? Ian. Hello, mate. How are you? Sky reported earlier, Maguire not leaving, but who really knows? I don't think he'll go, to be quite honest with you. I think, there were rumours about it earlier in the day, and then, of course, none. Terence, Slabhead will go all right as a lone player, only with AFCON coming. We're losing a few players. We are. We're going to lose a Gerd. We're going to lose 1 or 2 others, Ben Rama, etc. Kudus as well. John, still must be reading my comments. I just said that I am reading. I would try and read everyone's comments. How far behind am I? Not too far. Eric, Johnson and Creswell not good enough anymore. I don't know what's happened to Johnson. I really don't. I really don't get why he's been so off form. Creswell's been a great servant. He had a half-decent season last season, to be honest with you. But yeah, we've been talking for years to replace him. Huge. Good evening to you. Still have a sneaky feeling that the reported chase for Yuri Alberto is a cover to put other teams off the scent of the attacker we're really after. Could well be, because I don't know enough about these Yuri Alberto and about Pedro. But you might be right. Yeah, he's out there, though. I've been told he's definitely in Brazil, Steidten. Lee, if Wolves come knocking in January for Antonio, will we let him go? I think that all depends on what happens with our window or whether we've got someone lined up for him either now or in January, but quite possibly. But look at him. I mean, people are saying the only reason why he's playing so well at the moment is because he's putting himself in the shop window. He's been putting himself in the shop window for the last year and a half or so. We know he wants to leave, but on form at the moment, I don't think Moyes wants to let him go. Montana, all the new signings put in absolute shifts. They're doing their jobs exceptionally well. I totally agree. Sean, 15 million for Alberto. We should be getting him for Balbuena money. He's not worth anywhere near 15 million. I don't know enough about. I really genuinely don't know enough about him to say. Montana, Paquetá should stay. Who else will love him like us? The Bastard Irons are the perfect club for his shithousery. Spot on. Lee, if I'm in the West Ham setup, I'm asking Paquetá about the Brazilians unknowns and who should we get? Well, I think that's why Pedro's been linked, because I think Paquetá has kind of said, if you want a striker, get Pedro. He knows him well, doesn't he? So let's see. Scamacca got a hat trick tonight. There you go. In Lingard, I'm quite certain will be signed. Surely the love is not being hammered out behind the scenes. I think we need depth in this type of player. Currently, just like Kudus, I think he'll be signed, and I think he'll give us he'll be part of the homegrown numbers that we need. Garino, he'll come back with some betting slips from a certain island lair just off the coast. Hammerette, Tim Steidten, Matty, he took a plane to Hamburg. He took that's a long-winded, but that's the nice one. You didn't sing the one about the marijuana smoking. Wolf, Luton look like the new Norwich, so we should just push them aside easily. I've watched their matches; they look awful. Well, they're going to be up for it. Let's not forget, it's their first Premier League game at home. Their first, so they're going to be really, really up for it. Montana, Stel, I want Masuaku to come back just to hear you moan about him every stream. He used to get me down. I always try to be happy, but boy, oh boy, did he used to get me down. But anyway, Garino. Cornet injury last year was a bad one for him, given his pace. But like when Forbert did his Achilles, a bit like when Forbert did it. It was bad. I think he's back now. So it's kind of interesting to see whether he's going to get any game time or whether he's going to be one of those players that's going to be let go. Be interesting. The Enforcer. You can only catch a fly by moving slowly. Yep, true. Because to fly, it's not like you're moving at all. I caught it, the little bastard. Manji. Get an executioner still. It's an electrified tennis racket. I've got bad. It's bad enough as it is with all my electrics. The last thing I want is to be whacking an electric tennis racket all over the place. Sean, West Ham Voice Live, starring The Fly, co-starring Cat 1, Cat 2. I've got 3 cats now, Sean. 3. Yep. Yeah. Don't ask me how it happened. It just did. Matthew, I hope Moyes stops using defensive tactics and starts attacking, as we've got a good attacking options now, plus a good midfield. This looks like good attacking team. I hope Moyes doesn't put all of it to... I think what will all of it to waste. I don't think he will. I think what he'll do is, we said earlier on, there'll be games, maybe quite a few games, that we're going to have to get used to the fact that he's playing, defensive, counter-attacking, not a lot of the ball, etc., etc. But I'm hoping, and I hope it starts from Friday against Luton, that we're going to see a different side of West Ham. I really do. Garino, Stel, centre-back we need. Zuma's knees are gone, and he might be off to Saudi. Central midfield we need, as we only have Alvarez as central defensive midfielder needs. I get that, but I think the more important areas at the moment is striker and potentially left back. We've got 4 central defenders at the moment: Mavropanos, Oggy, Zuma, and Agurd. So I'm not so sure. I get you, but I'm not so sure that's going to be the priority. Central defensive midfield, I get that as well. Maybe that's why Coventry is staying. I'm not saying Coventry is good enough, but I think maybe that's why Coventry is staying, because he will be that central defensive midfield. That's why I thought maybe we would have kept we would have kept Downs. I'm pleased for him. I think it'd be good for him going to Southampton, but I'm kind of surprised we did let him go. Andrew, let loan Mbama to a top 6 championship club, somewhere like Norwich or Southampton would be good. I agree. I think, once we know what's happening with our striker situation, you could see Mbama being a last-minute loan. Charles, Ward-Prowse to be Hammer of the Year. He's not doing too bad, is he, to be quite honest with you? Garino, if Wolves sell Nunes, then they will have the money for Criswell. Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking as well. Let's scroll down. Manji, Steidten wasn't on the plane to Brazil. It was a mannequin in a scarf. John, has anyone got Tim's number? I need to borrow the plane to pick Barry up from the Costa Brava. Miss Smith, hang on a minute. Has anyone seen Jeff Goldblum and still in the same room? I haven't been called that for a long time. Not for a long time. Nasa, good evening to you. My question, will all these high caliber players coming in, do you think Moyes will be tactically up to the challenge? Yes, I do. And shall I tell you why? Because he's getting players that he prefers. I know there's a lot of talk about Steidten, etc., getting the players in and all this sort of stuff. But they're players. I think Steiden's been quite clever because he's gone, all right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You know, you want to play a certain style of football, I'll find you the players that will fit that certain style of football for you. So rather than going against the grain and going, you've got to get all these players that you're not going to like, Steiden's gone, what do you want to do? You want to play counter-attacking football, absorb the pressure? No problem at all. I'll go and find you Mavropanos who can play that. I'll go and find you Alvarez who can play. Whoever found him. You know, Steidten did the deal for them. But, you know, I think what Steiden's doing is he's going, no problem, David Moyes. You want to play this style of football? That's absolutely fine. These are the players that will fit your system. Working well. Garino. Pedro is one of the most unappealing YouTube highlight reels I've ever seen, which takes some doing. I haven't. I've got to look into these two players. But like someone said, maybe these aren't the players that Steiden's gone out there for. In Pedro highlight reel, I saw he kicked the goalpost. And brilliant. He fits us perfectly well then, doesn't he? Alan. There are reports that the Saudi League are after 3 players from West Ham. I can see them going, and also Ings and Johnson going before the window shuts. I wonder who those 3 players are. Someone's mentioned already Zuma a few times. I don't think we'll let Zuma go, to be honest with you. Depends on whether the player wants to go. Who the other 2 will be? Bowen, I guess, will be a target, but I don't think he'll be going anywhere either. Interesting. Antonio's the other one. Antonio has been offered a couple of offers. He does want to go, Antonio. He does want to leave, but Moyes won't replace him until he gets someone who can be just as good. Just as good or better. Montana. Yeah, it just hit me. We haven't trailed all season. Moyes ball is delivering people. Pundits never mentioned that stat, I guess. Yeah, good point. We haven't been behind, but let's see what happens. It will happen when we do go behind. Lee, thanks for the show. Much appreciated. Be safe. Great comments. Thank you, mate. And thank you for being part of the show. Really appreciated. The Phoenix, good evening to you. Where were all the preseason negative comments coming from and why were they trying to undermine us? Well, you know, I think because of the season that we had last season, everyone was saying it's going to be rubbish this season. We don't trust Moyes, etc., etc. I'm glad it's being proved wrong at the moment. GP, thank you. A £4 bet on West Ham winners, 24 quid. Here's 5. I'm really, thank you. Really, really appreciated. Guess what? I'm down to the bottom, more or less. Alan, Zuma, Benrahma, because they're Muslim and they're preferred, plus Antonio. Zuma, Benrahma, I can't. Well, you know what the trouble is? The Saudi transfer window is open for another 20 days after our one shuts on Friday. I wonder how many players are going to be, the Saudi league comes in for these players when our window shuts, when we can't replace these players. That's going to be interesting. Those 20 days after our window shuts is going to be very interesting. Pat Holland fan, I haven't seen you for ages. How are you? Will we see Souček on the bench? We won't see Souček at all because he suffered from concussion and you've got is it 10 days, I think, that you can't play again. So he won't be playing in the game against Luton anyway. He won't even be on the bench this Friday. That's it. I think that's it. But Fred has just joined us. Good evening to you, Fred. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. I'm just finishing the show. I've done nearly 2 hours and I started at 10. It's tomorrow now. It's now Tuesday. Garino. Zuma wants to go to an easier league and his knees are in a bad state and he's struggling with the pace of the Premier League. That's interesting. It'd be interesting. Maybe that's why we're back in for Maguire then again. If that is true, then maybe that's why we're back in for Maguire. That's it. It's midnight. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. All the chat, etc., etc. I really do appreciate you all getting involved. Honestly, it doesn't make the show otherwise. I do all the pre-recorded stuff, but I can't interact with you on those. So, Monday nights is where it's at in terms of interacting and so on. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for the contributions. Honestly, I really am honored. Thank you. Have a great week, a wonderful week. And we know we're going to end the week even better than we started because we're going to win against Luton and we're going to probably go top of the league for another night or two. It's been wonderful. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful week and stay well. And I'll see you all very soon.